1. So I've been working at my hotel for almost a year and a half now, during day shift due to COVID-19. We've had many people put in their notices or just quit altogether. Because of this, and a nice raise, I decided to move over to night audit full time, which has been a piece of cake most nights. The very first night on audit I encountered a prostitute, men checking in while scratching their junk like they have squirrels in their pants, and very drunk guests, most of which was just funny to see in the moment. However, this incident I'm about to tell you about really ticked me off, considering the circumstances and how well I treated this guest. Rewind to Thursday night, my Friday. It was a very quiet night as usual since COVID has taken over. I had a couple check-ins before I could start audit, so I waited them out. The last check-in came in through a third party, and what do you know? A trio of junkies arrive. A woman and 2 men walk in visibly high on something. The 2 men are acting incredibly sketchy, itching and mumbling. The woman seemed like she was mostly sober, so I began the check-in process with her. Thankfully, it was her name on the reservation. I went ahead and began the process of check-in, which went smooth, up until I asked for a card to go on file for the incidentals. Now, the thing about my hotel is that we only charge $10 for incidentals, which makes no sense to me whatsoever, and I think is a terrible idea, only asking for trouble. If a guest doesn't even have $10 on their card, I automatically see red flags. She did not have a card with funds on it at the time, so I stood my ground, which has been hard for me to do in some cases, and informed her I would be unable to allow her entry until I have some form of payment on file that can authorize $10. She then begins begging me if she can just please get into the room and lay down. If the money isn't on the card in 20 minutes, she would just leave. Red flags again. I said absolutely not. It's against policy and out of my control entirely, which isn't a lie. She was polite when stating she would be back soon with the funds added to the credit card. I waited from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. before running audit in case she did in fact come back. Doubtful. We have the option of pretty much running audit whenever we want during our shift as long as it gets done. So if we have check-ins still by the time I start my shift, I try to wait them out. By 3 a.m. I let her reservation go to no-show and ran audit, hoping she wouldn't return. Unfortunately she did when she arrived back at 5 a.m., taxied in by the police from walking on the side of the highway. She explained to me that after the 2 men she was with got into a fight, she started walking. Therefore, she returned alone. She asked if she could still check in, and after explaining I already ran audit, and that I could see if it will allow me to reinstate it, she gave me some spiel about how all she had was money for Apple Pay, but that her phone was too outdated to use it. It wasn't even an Apple phone. Then followed by asking me what our rate is for tonight if she could just book through me. Red flags again, especially since she had no payment method to begin with. I informed her it was $75 plus tax for a one-night stay. Unfortunately, our rates were very low on this day. However, I was able to reinstate her reservation, but explained to her again that I would be unable to let her into a room without payment on file. She sat down in the lobby and informed me she would make some calls and try to figure it out. She sat in the lobby until I said I'd breakfast, grabbing go-bags for COVID, and then proceeded to ask if she could have some. No big deal, they're free for guests anyway, so I allowed it. She informed me that she is now waiting for her mother to wake up to get some funds sent to her. She sat in the lobby until my shift was over. I should have just kicked her out, especially since we have strict guidelines on no one sitting in the lobby due to COVID. But I felt bad considering she gave me a story about how she's going in for cancer testing in the morning. She was polite with me, wore a mask, and was one of our few check-ins. Obviously, I'm not too sure if I believe anything she said now. I left at 7 a.m. when my manager arrived to relieve me, but not before explaining every detail of what happened, especially considering she was still in the lobby. Not long after arriving home, I got a missed call from her followed by a text asking if I would call her, that the woman in the lobby was stating I booked her a new room and charged her card $75. I'm immediately infuriated, considering I just got home after working all night and dealing with that situation. I just wanted to sleep. I called her back and explained to her not once did I ever see a form of payment from her in person, and she had asked about booking a new room under the rate of $75 if I couldn't reinstate the old one. However, I did reinstate the old one and was waiting for payment for incidentals from her. Keep in mind she was completely nice and polite the whole night towards me. I am pretty close with my manager and she knew the whole story for me explaining at my shift's end, so she believed me entirely. I finally pass out comfortably, knowing my job is safe from the loony junkie. When I wake up, I have a text from my manager saying that our GM booted her out and that he was glad I stood my ground. That felt good because our previous GM literally bullied me for a year, never on my side until she finally got fired. Apparently Junkie kept bringing me up while speaking with the GM, and he told her to stop that. I was not there and she was speaking with him. She wanted him to call me and he said, "Absolutely not, she is off the clock, you can speak with me." She said that Junkie wasn't very rude and that she had her sister on the phone screaming and cursing, yelling about filing a lawsuit and going on about myself. Ha! Go ahead, lady, waste of money considering nothing happened. GM ended up calling me that evening and I told him in detail as well as everything that happened that night, just in case something did end up happening. We were both pretty confident in not hearing from her again, considering there was no proof of anything, although I did appreciate the reach out. She is now banned from our hotel. She also tried to get a refund through the third party, which we fought back to and denied. It really just bothers me that I allowed her to sit in the lobby, enjoy our breakfast and wait around, knowing something weird was going on just because she made me feel bad for her. Just so that she could go behind me to the manager after I got off shift. Looking back, actually, she had been on the phone, on and off all night, and every time she would get a call, she'd walk outside talking so quietly she was almost whispering. People drive me nuts, and I think I'm especially irritated because of COVID. Things have been so weird ever since it started. Sorry for anyone else going through irritating or uncomfortable situations right now. I feel you. 2. Working night audit means you deal with the crazies, the whack jobs, and the Karens and Kevins of the hotel world. When I started doing this type of job, I knew it took a special type of person to want to work this shift and deal with the late-night cranky citizens of the world. I've been called every name from bitch to Nazi, yes, Nazi, and not only Nazi but Jew-hating Nazi, because she didn't like the hotel policy of cards only, no cash. Plus, she handed me an expired passport from 1983 and tried to say it was valid ID. Yeah, it was valid alright, and I'm Andre the Giant. Tonight's D-Bag award goes to Kevin McAhole. Kevin came in, wanted a room with a balcony. Well, sorry Kevin, all my balcony rooms are sold out, as your reservation isn't set for a room with a balcony. Oh, this pissed Kevin off. The elevator here is on the fritz, is being loud and obnoxious, and so I know how to fix it, but I'm slammed at the desk with other guests, so Kevin has zero patience and starts screaming and cussing at me about said elevator. I get Kevin on his way and attend to my other guests. Oh, look who's back 30 seconds later. Yep, it's Kevin.
My room is near that loud elevator and I'm not having it. You're comping my room and my entire stay for this mess.
Kevin screams at me along with a few other colorful words. I'm helping 3 guests at once, and they all witness a tantrum man-baby Kevin is having. Kevin starts yelling and screaming more at me, because I'm not giving him his way. Well, Kevin, 2 can play that game, so guess who gets loud and snarky back? Me. Kevin, you have 3 options. You can leave, give me 5 minutes to help these people waiting patiently, or I can call the police and have you removed for being hostile. Your choice. Kevin decides to shut up for a moment. I finish what I'm doing. Okay, Kevin, what is the problem and how can I help? He starts screaming again about how he wants a new room away from the elevator. Okay, no problem. I give him a new room on the same floor, go to hand him his new keys, and here we go with more screaming.
I don't want a room on the 3rd floor now, just give me one on the 2nd so I don't have to take the effing elevator. What time is management in? I want to talk to them about this horrendous check-in and all this BS I've had to endure.
By the way, We have 3 sets of stairs in this hotel. A set by the lobby that goes to the basement, and to the 2nd floor, and a set on both ends of the building that go all the way up to the 3rd floor. But not the basement. Pool, fitness room, and guest laundry are in the basement. Kevin tried to get to the 3rd floor by using the stairs by the lobby, and got pissed when he realized they don't go higher than the 2nd floor. I'm sorry, Kevin, but there is no management on weekends. That's the perk of being salaried. You don't have to work on weekends while those of us hourly employees do. So I give Kevin a room on 2. This satisfies him for a split second, and then the screaming continues. This time, I'm being yelled at because this new room had better be away from the elevator, and if it's not, he's calling the owners, corporate, the media, whoever. Ugh. I finally get Kevin away from the desk, and start a lengthy email to management about mine and Kevin's interactions. Oh look, guess who's back? If you guessed Kevin, you get a gold star.
There's absolutely no parking in the lot, and the only parking says 2-hour parking.
Kevin, you are allowed to park in the 2-hour parking as there are signs out there that state hotel guests can park in the 2-hour from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. Monday to Friday, and can park all day and night on Saturdays and Sundays.
The sign says except Sundays.
Kevin, I park in the 2-hour lot every night, and even tonight I parked in front of the sign that says you can park there on weekends. Kevin is beyond pissed and annoyed, so he goes and parks, and when he comes back, he just can't walk away without getting some last few words in.
I better not get told, and if I do, you're paying the bill. And I will make sure it's coming from your check, since you're the one who told me it was okay.
Okay, Kevin, you tell that to my managers, because I'm sure after my email to them, they aren't going to listen to you or take you seriously after the way you belittled me and treated me like a garbage can. But at the end of my shift, I'll be going home to a loving man, 2 faithful doggos, and a nice warm bed, while Kevin chooses to spend his time living in hotels and moving from place to place. I warned AM Shift about him, and told them I wouldn't be surprised if he calls or comes and harasses her about his experience. And at about 10:30 this morning, AM texted me to tell me she was currently on the phone with him, and he was lying about everything, claiming I screamed at him first. It took him an hour and a half to get to his room, and he tried to say that every time he interacted with me, there were no other guests in the lobby, but told her that he did in fact cut in front of one of the guests I was helping. He has also now said that if we desk agents or management attempt to contact him during the rest of his stay, he will demand more than just his room comped. So I bumped his D-Bag award up to Douche Canoe of the Year award, and told PM when I came in that if he starts into me again tonight, he is here for a couple of days, that I will have no problem handing him the Lifetime Achievement Award for douchiest douchebag of dicks. I'm a firm believer that COVID is now affecting brain cells, as guests have never been this needy or crappy in all my years of hospitality. 3. Been working under the same familiar chain brand for going on 4 years now, at several different locations. I tend to work at the smaller hotels that have under or right at 100 rooms, so I'm used to working second and sometimes third shifts on my own. I'm used to having to act as an on-call housekeeper and maintenance, in addition to my regular desk duties. This was pre-COVID. A few months after starting at my 3rd hotel, I had quite an interesting and at the time irritating night. An older lady, maybe late 60s, comes to check in and seems pretty normal. She's by herself and doesn't immediately have any luggage with her, so it's clear she plans on unloading after she checks in. She doesn't mention any special requests or anything of note at check-in. As she leaves the desk to go unload, I think nothing else of it. We had cameras in the back office, as most properties do. I watched her come in a side entrance with a luggage cart, and she seemed to struggle some getting it in the door. I go to help, and she quickly tells me it's all right, and she doesn't need my assistance. I insist politely and notice what I guess she didn't want me to see. An animal cage. Small, but still decently sized, with what at first looked like a puppy. Now at this property we only allowed service animals, so I'm preparing to ask her the only 2 questions we are told we can ask under ADA law, but then realize it's a small monkey. I'm dumbfounded. I've never had to deal with this type of thing before. I figure regardless of the type of animal, I still should start this off by asking the same two questions. Is the animal a service animal? And what type of service is it trained to provide? She says it is an emotional support monkey. I can hardly believe what I'm hearing and seeing. Emotional support monkey? So I ask her to come with me to the desk. We roll her luggage and monkey over to the desk to chat about this. I ask her to stay at the desk while I go back to call my GM about what to do, as I don't want to say anything that could break any ADA laws or come off as rude. My GM, in turn, has to call our regional director. Even she is unsure of what to do. She gets back to me a few moments later to confirm that in our state, emotional support animals of any species are not covered for public accommodations under ADA law. So I am told to ask her to find another place for her monkey than inside the building, if she wants to stay with us. And if she can't do that, she couldn't, then she will have to leave. At no charge, of course, so I relay the message, and she doesn't take it even remotely well, as you can probably imagine. Things get a little more complicated and irritating when I see she has prepaid through a third party. She demands an immediate refund and refuses to leave until she sees proof of it. So of course I tell her the normal things about how I can call them and deal with their mess for her. But it will have to be in between other guests checking in and needing me, and it's starting to get quite busy. Every person that comes to check in from that moment on, until a good hour or so later, sees me there flustered with the phone to my ear on hold, with this lady acting ridiculous, telling them and everyone else who will listen about how her innocent and cute monkey are being kicked out by me. Ironically, the monkey was super well behaved, and the lady was acting like much more of a fool than the monkey ever could. She also threatens to set her lawyer brother on us. And to spite her, I offered to print out and give her the page from the federal website, where I found and confirmed the info I was told for his convenience. She of course refuses, and that only makes her more mad. I finally get off the call with Crappedia, and I had to threaten the police in order to get her to leave because of course her refund can't be immediate, no matter how hard she wishes. She was at my desk for over an hour total, yelling and being pissy and making sure every guest who walked by knew how awful I was for being mean to such an old, innocent lady and her monkey. Meanwhile, I'm over here just trying to do what management asks of me so I don't lose my job, and or potentially have a huge mess from a monkey to deal with the next morning. I know I'll probably get some people telling me what the actual law is, and that she was completely in the right and that we broke a ton of laws. But I really don't care, because even if that is true, I was only doing what I was told. 4. I've worked in customer service positions all my life, and hospitality directly for a little over 6 years. Half spent at my current property, and the other half was a ways back. This story involves a way back where I was a night auditor. I lived across the 4 or 5 acres that the property owned. And man, do I miss working so close to my home. Oh boy, was it a well-paying job at $7.25 an hour. I had never dreamed about making so much money. I was working for an independent hotel just outside a very large farming community, which had general rooms built next to an old abandoned Spanish manor that was repurposed into luxury hotel suites and were spread out over about an acre of land. We mostly got guests in for hunting, as the property was tucked away behind a small mountain range and off the beaten path. But occasionally, we'd get people who were looking for an out-of-the-way escape, or weirdly, people really into architecture. Can't remember the specifics, but the manor was made by a notable architect. Because of this, though, we dealt far more with the game wardens than we did police, but that's just to paint a picture of where we were. There were 4 people in the offices. There were 2, one for the regular hotel rooms and one for the suites. Generally, one person stationed at the desk in both offices and a night auditor who operated from the regular office, and the manager, who spent most of her time locked in her own office making sales calls or physically driving our backdrop into town, which took 45 minutes one way, if you drove like a bat out of hell. Basically, we were in the middle of nowhere. We don't often interact with the other employees because we're so spread out, and get very few guests outside hunting season, so it gets real boring. Any guest that comes in is a delight, and we finally get to have a conversation with a human. Now, wild pig hunting in this area was open year-round, and so we'd get relatively local farmers in to hunt from time to time. After a harvest, this means they'd often come in with a surplus of produce and give us sacks of goods just to be neighborly. This actually happened a lot, as once a local found out about their hidden hunting haven, they'd bring their buddies who'd bring their buddies next time, who'd so on and so forth. We had a decent amount of regulars, almost all farmers, and almost always here to hunt. Now, guests sometimes brought a little bit, but it was the regulars that made it so that I didn't have to buy produce for a year. You heard that right. Potatoes, garlic, onions, apricots, dates, avocados, peaches, oranges, eggs, asparagus, carrots, mushrooms. You name it, we got too much of it. We'd have farmers come in and chat with us for close to half an hour before even checking in. Got to the point sometimes where you start wishing you could go back to mind-numbing boredom. But they were always super nice and friendly, asking about family and remembering previous conversations. Had one guy bring in a couple of large moving boxes filled to the brim with superhero comics. Apparently his new wife wasn't a fan of his nerdy hobbies, and sadly he was being forced to get rid of them all. Rather than donate them like he said he was going to do, he gave them to me with the caveat that every time he comes out to the property, he'd be allowed to borrow a few. Kept me occupied for about a solid week, and prepared me for the MCU Marvel movies, which wasn't yet a thing. My favorite memory is I had one regular that found out I was into metal by walking into the office at 3 a.m. while I was blasting tunes and Mrs. Doubtfire dancing while walking back and forth faxing reports. I was incredibly embarrassed to have been caught doing the one thing no rhythmless white man should ever do: dance. Turns out his kid was also into metal and he wanted to flex on them, so I gave him a few bands to name drop. A few weeks later he came back for another hunting trip, and he shared with me that his kid ended up loving a couple of those bands, and they just got back from a concert. As he tells me this, he pulls an Opeth tour shirt they picked up for me at the concert, and says, "Happy birthday," which he knew was months out. Like, come on, dude, my own parents don't even do such thoughtful things for me. It's still in my wardrobe to this day. There were a few other events truly fantastic like that, but that's the one that really sticks out for me, as it was the only one that I feel was personally for me, and not us as a whole. 5. So this incident is hopefully finally over. It's been over a week that I've been dealing with this situation, and it has been one of those weeks where I definitely don't get paid enough. Cast is me, FDM, daytime FDA, various other hotel staff, crazy guy, CG, his crazy wife, Mrs. Crazy. My hotel is a 5-star boutique place in a coastal town. We have 90 rooms, a full-service restaurant, gym, spa, indoor pool, and jacuzzi, game room, and top 4th floor rooms have a balcony. All of our amenities are on the 1st floor. We are owned by a sweet old couple who travel a lot, and we are not part of a chain, so we do not have a reward system. We are not offering housekeeping services for guests who are staying less than a week, but we are offering to exchange dirty towels for clean ones. Last Monday, Crazy Dude and his wife booked in for 2 nights. They checked in with night audit at about 11 p.m., so not too outside of normal people hours. Tuesday morning, I had the displeasure of meeting them.
Why is the pool locked?
Oh, I'm sorry. Due to the virus, all our amenities are closed, except for the spa and restaurant, which are by reservation only.
Well, ain't that some bull?
Again, I'm sorry, but it's for everyone's safety. They left only to come back a few hours later.
That boy won't let us in the restaurant.
Do you have a reservation?
No, we're hungry now.
The restaurant is by reservation only because of the virus. If you'll give me a moment, I can check with the staff in there and see when the next table will be open for you.
It better be fast.
I called over to the restaurant and spoke with the host. I had him put down Crazy Guy and wife for the next table. I told him it would be between 10 and 15 minutes to get them seated, and directed them to wait outside or near the host station. At this point, please note that all public seating, benches, chairs, stools, etc. have been removed, because of the virus, for your safety.
I need to sit now.
They went outside and Mrs. Crazy sat on a windowsill. I saw the host go out and get them. I knew they were seated, so I went about my work in the office, and I left around 2 p.m. that day. Between 5:30 and 6, my daytime FDA calls me. Hey, did you make a spa reservation for Mr. Crazy and Mrs. Crazy? Room 200? They're saying they spoke with you earlier today. The spa attendant doesn't see a reservation. No, I got them a table at the restaurant at 11 a.m. or so. Just call the spa and see if they have anything open before they shut down for the night. Give them a bottle of champagne and apologize for any confusion. The next morning I come in to find a stack of notes from FDA and night audit about Mr. and Mrs. Crazy. They had refused the champagne but later asked for wine, and had room service charges 6 times from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. I took over the desk as first shift was running late. I want to keep my room another 2 nights. Of course, I see you booked your initial stay through Photels.com. Yes, can I keep that rate? I see he's paying 120% of rack rate plus fees. If you'd like, but no buts, I want my same rate. Okay, sir. 2 more nights at the same rate comes to a total of $500. He pays. Can I get towels? Yes, I will have housekeeping bring a new set of towels to your room. If you could please set the dirty ones out in the hall for collection by 10 a.m., that would be great. I made a note for the housekeepers that Mr. and Mrs. Crazy, room 200, needed towel exchange. I also made a note on their front desk file that they wanted to keep the same rate for their whole stay. The next 2 days passed without too much incident, just some weird room service requests and complaints from the restaurant that Mr. and Mrs. Crazy keep calling to ask if a table is open right now, instead of just making a reservation 1 night before or earlier in the day. It is once again time for them to check out. I am in the office behind the front desk and can see and hear everything clearly. Can I get the same rate for another night? Yes, sir. The price to renew another night is $250. I need housekeeping today. New sheets. I'm sorry. Because of the pandemic, we cannot allow an employee to enter a guest room. We can't exchange the sheets just like we do towels. Who's gonna make the bed? Well, you would? I ain't making no beds. This is a hotel. Y'all need to make the beds. At this point, I stepped out. Sir, please stop shouting. I understand your frustration. Unfortunately, I gesture around to all the signs about masks and hand washing, slowing the spread, etc. It's currently too dangerous for the housekeeping staff to clean occupied rooms. If you would like, I can make an exception and switch your room to the one next door. I ain't switching rooms. Then, would you like to exchange your dirty sheets for clean ones and make the bed yourself? No. In that case, you are welcome to extend your stay and continue to use the sheets you already have. Or you can check out today. I want to stay 1 more night. Certainly, $250 is the charge. I want housekeeping today. Sir, this is non-negotiable. We cannot send housekeeping staff into an occupied room. Check me out then. Certainly. Here is your itemized bill, showing room charges, tax and services you charge to your room, as well as the valet fee and parking charge. The keys to your room have been deactivated, so you can leave them in the room or here at the desk. Whichever you would like. Have a fabulous day. Huh. About 2 p.m. I got a call from Mrs. Crazy. Hey, I checked out this morning. There's a charge in my card for more than my bill. I'll be happy to go over all charges with you. What's the last name on the room? Crazy! We were in room 200. Ah, yes. Mr. and Mrs. Crazy, I see right here. Oh, it looks like there was a charge for smoking in the room. As I'm sure you know, the state law is that all smoking and vaping is to be performed outside, at least 100 feet away from any entrance or window. There is no smoking inside any building. Staff found cigarettes and vape supplies in your room, so you were charged a smoke cleaning fee of $560.
We smoked outside. We just threw our trash out.
Unfortunately, items in the trash are considered reasonable evidence, so I won't be able to reverse the charges. We do have trash receptacles outside, as well as dedicated cigarette bins in our smoking area. They checked out on Friday last week, and I've been getting calls from Mr. and Mrs. Crazy, their bank, and even the third-party site. Today, Friday again, is the first day I haven't had to answer a call from someone regarding this matter. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw, number 45. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. All through recording that story about the monkey, I couldn't help thinking there's a Robbie Williams song called Me and My Monkey, about a guy who goes on adventures and gets into all sorts of criminal hijinks with his pet monkey. Well, I say pet monkey, you know, the monkey's kind of doing his own thing. As I'm recording this right now, the state of the next True Scary Stories is uncertain. It was suggested that because nobody's going out, nobody's really having scary encounters, and that's actually probably kind of true. I do have one that's sort of ready to go, and I should be able to do one on... Let me think. I should be able to do one for Wednesday. I'm going to try. But at the moment we're going to stick to one a week, and when things pick back up again, when the world picks back up again, we'll go back to the 2 a week. But we will have videos every day, don't worry. Not going to let you guys down. We will have something hopefully entertaining up. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.